This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through HACCP.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. Site and supply chain security management. Key definitions for site and supply chain security management. Contractor, a procured service or product provider within a food business premises. Food defense. Food defense covers the methodologies applied to identify risk to food from acts of unsafe modifications or intentional sabotage or contamination. HACCP, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, or HACCP as it is commonly known, is a science-based risk management system, relying on identification and recognition of specific hazards, and nominates measures for their control to ensure the safety of food. Product recall. A product recall is a request to return to the manufacturer a batch or an entire production run of a product, usually due to the discovery of threatening safety issues. Product withdrawal. A product withdrawal is a request to return to the manufacturer a batch or an entire production run of a product, usually due to the discovery of non-threatening quality issues. Site and supply chain security management. Site and supply chain security management covers the methods implemented to ensure adequate and appropriate control of food business security throughout the supply chain. TACCP, Threat Assessment Critical Control Point, or TACCP, is a methodology used to prevent deliberate and intentional sabotage and espionage events and related scenarios. Visitor, an invited, expected, welcomed or accommodated visitor to a food business premises. Site and supply chain security management development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of site and supply chain security management within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About site and supply chain security management. Who may want to contaminate or sabotage foods? Site and supply chain security management risk assessment. Implementing a site and supply chain security management plan. About site and supply chain security management. Security is a critical issue for every food industry sector and related participants. It is important to consider the potential for people to influence the safety or quality of a food product if the environment and conditions under which it is produced, handled, stored or transported are not appropriately controlled. Site and supply chain security management generally involves the control of potential deliberate contamination of foods by a variety of potential threats including biological, chemical and physical hazards. Deliberate contamination of foodstuffs is a criminal action that involves willful intent to inflict harm or damage. The motivation for deliberate contamination often includes the ability to cause serious illness and deaths following consumption of affected product. This is aligned with the desire to cause economic damage whilst including inspiring fear among the public and loss of confidence in the safety of food supply chains. Site and supply chain security should always be considered as a separate element from food safety, though element of the two may be shared when applied to a food business. Food safety generally addresses the unintentional contamination of food products by biological, chemical or physical hazards. Because of the differences in applications for food safety and site and supply chain security, a HACCP plan should not be applied as a substitute for a detailed site and supply chain security plan. However, the HACCP methodology is commonly used as a risk assessment tool to define site and supply chain security-related risks. Where the HACCP methodology is applied for the identification and management of site and supply chain security hazards, this may be referred to as TACCP. Threat Assessment Critical Control Point, or TACCP, is a methodology used to prevent deliberate and intentional sabotage and espionage events and related scenarios. Site and supply chain security management applications may include the following aspects: screening of staff members prior to beginning work within a food business, using a system which allows tracking of staff movements, video surveillance, securing of the food premises to ensure only authorized staff, visitors and contractors access specified areas, Using a register to track the movements of visitors and contractors. Document and data control. Facilitating visitor and contractor screening and induction training. It is important when initiating some of the above-mentioned components that the rights of staff, visitors and contractors are not compromised. The requirements of privacy legislation are commonly used as a basis for the implementation of systems which track people's movements, especially where the use of video surveillance is concerned. Who may want to contaminate or sabotage foods? When evaluating the potential site and supply chain security exposure of any food business, the senior management should consider a large variety of people who may potentially execute an attack from both inside and outside the business operation. Potential attacks may include both opportunistic attacks by single individuals and planned attacks by organized groups. The following listing provides some examples of people who may be motivated to contaminate or sabotage food products from both internal and external sources. Internal sources: disgruntled employee, visitors or contractors, temporary or casual employees, members of organized groups posing as employees. External sources: organized groups, transport drivers, visitors or contractors, raw material suppliers. Additional threats are often identified through internal sources, as perpetrators often have access to food business procedures and protocols that may make their goals more readily achievable. Food businesses should liaise with relevant regulatory authorities regarding potential local threats to their operation. Site and supply chain security management risk assessment. The following may be considered when conducting a site and supply chain security risk assessment for your food business. Define what needs to be protected. A clear understanding of potential threats and what needs to be protected will assist in ensuring that effective and appropriate control measures can be applied. It is important to identify the most vulnerable elements of any food business operation. Historical or current site and supply chain security incidents built from within your business and externally can be used as resources to ensure you are considering an appropriate range of potential site and supply chain security hazards. Application of site and supply chain security management control measures. The application of site and supply chain security management control measure within any food business operation should be applied according to the defined severity of outcomes related to each nominated control measure. As with most business management systems, it is important to consider that the identified potential site and supply chain security risks should be controlled in order from the one with the most severe potential outcomes to the one with the least severe potential outcomes. This method generally facilitates a practical approach to resource allocation as applicable to each unique food business operation. Contemporary site and supply chain security management protocols rely on a multi-layered approach in ensuring effective outcomes. A multi-layered approach, for example, may include elements such as physical security. Potential security measures include perimeter controls through the use of fencing, gates, guard stations, and key card or radio frequency emitting device access. All entryways, windows, vents, and delivery docks should be secured. Exterior lighting and closed-circuit camera systems may also be used to support outcomes. Personnel security. Staff training for site and supply chain security management. Logging of employee entry and exit is a common method for tracing staff movements within any food business operation. Operational security. Employment of internal or external security monitoring and reaction contractors or consultants, security cameras or security inspections. This may also include the application of central controls for service as airflow, water supply and electricity, and nomination of supervision for contractors working within the operational areas of the food business. Process security. Maintaining control over access to the process and the application of site and supply chain security management procedures. This may include the application of tools such as chemical usage inventories, which can track excessive or unauthorized chemical use which may potentially be used to deliberately contaminate foods. Receival. Dispatch and transport security measures may include purchasing raw materials only from designated approved suppliers, establishing controls on incoming deliveries, limiting driver access to the food business during deliveries, thorough inspection and inventory accounting of delivered materials, use of tamper-evident packaging for finished products, and the use of tamper-evident seals on incoming and outgoing transport. Contemporary food safety and quality programs and systems often include requirements for the securing of transport modules or vehicles to reduce the risk of deliberate sabotage or terrorist-type events. In such cases, transport modules or vehicles may be secured physically, or by a system which permits the real-time acknowledgement of potential tampering. An example of a physical transport security mechanism may include the physical locking of transport modules or vehicles where these can only be opened by nominated participants within the supply chain. Where security systems are used in lieu of physical measures, these may include the implementation of controlled tamper-proof transport seals, mandated transport protocols and/or specified tamper-proof mechanisms for product rather than the transport module or vehicle. It is generally considered best practice to ensure that any implemented transport security protocols, physical mechanisms and related controls are documented and agreed with relevant parties to provide a consistent controlled approach. Related requirements are commonly included within transport specifications and service agreements between the dispatching entity, the receiving entity and any other process participants and stakeholders. The following elements may be considered in the implementation of a site and supply chain security management plan. Designation of responsibilities. Responsibility for site and supply chain security management should be designated to an individual with a thorough understanding of the food business operation, typically a member of the senior management team. Further delegations may include specific individual responsibilities for elements of the site and supply chain security management systems. Site and supply chain security management training. All staff, visitors and contractors should be trained in relevant aspects of the site and supply chain security management system. The purpose of security awareness training is to ensure that all relevant people are aware of their site and supply chain security management responsibilities. Site and supply chain security management training should address system requirements including identification badges, access control protocols, access to restricted areas, protection of critical site and supply chain security management risks and procedures for reporting suspicious or confirmed inappropriate activities. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business? The information and training resources available through HACCP.com include a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.